name is Maya Rocha, and this is my mystery speech about Union Cemetery in Connecticut. The site dates back to the 1700s and is reputed to be one of the most haunted cemeteries not only in Connecticut but also in the entire United States. The 400-year-old cemetery is located next to Easton Baptist Church. There have been many sightings of ghosts of the buried people, but there are two main that have the most effect on people, which are the White Lady mystery and the glowing red eyes. The mystery of who the White Lady is still unknown today. There are many different stories and possibilities of who she was in her time. Many people have stories of who she could be, but none are exact. Who do you think she could have been? According to HunterShay.com, it first came in the late 1700s and still hosts new interments today. The sightings there include the White Lady, a pair of glowing, menacing red eyes, voices, shadows, and physical interactions have all taken place. The graveyard is heavily policed at night. The star of the cemetery is the White Lady. She's been seen drifting through the rows of gravestones, also pretending to be hit by cars outside the cemetery gates, only to disappear. She has long dark hair and wears a bonnet and nightgown. On one occasion in 1993, a fireman was driving along the road when he hit the lady. He heard a thud and a dent was left in his vehicle. As the woman appeared in front of his car, he also saw a farmer with a straw hat sitting beside him in the car. Another man walking by the cemetery at night saw a pair of red eyes peering at him from the bush. As he turned and ran, he heard footsteps following him. Donna Kent speculates that it was the ghost of Earl Kellogg, a man who was set afire across the street from the cemetery and burned to death in 1935. It has also been reported that the Old Baptist Church is connected to the cemetery. There were sights of what looked to be faces in some of the windows. Renowned ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren have done extensive investigation of this site, as have dozens of other paranormal investigators. Gathering a substantial amount of video and photographic evidence, the Warrens have even published a book about the cemetery called Graveyard. Paranormal experts claim that running water can provide energy for spirits to make themselves known. There is a large creek found behind the cemetery. Could that be what energizes the White Lady? The Warrens caught her on video and used it to show it every year for Halloween at a dinner event. A translucent apparition, she glides about the cemetery grounds. Her origins and identity are debatable. Some say she was murdered and dumped on the church grounds. Others say she is searching for a lost child. She is kept company by several other recurring spirits. Visitors report cold spots, strange shadows, heated headstones, and a feeling of being watched. Another expert on CT.com had gone to the cemetery in August of 2000. He brought a camera with him, waited for a nightfall, and got lots of pictures at random spots around the cemetery. Also taking pictures behind the church, and found John Smathers, who was found in a sinkhole weighed down with iron chunks in his pocket. Richard Dean Jason confessed to that murder. A researcher feels that the White Lady is the soul of Mrs. Knott, murdered by her adulterous lover, Elwood Wade. Sometime around the turn of the century, Mrs. Knott's body was also found in the dark, wooded area of the sinkhole. No one to this day has ever figured out who she really is or was in her physical lifetime. There was talk about a gravestone within Union Cemetery with a baby's grave marker next to it, which seemed to indicate a woman dying shortly after the baby. There are also tales of a ghostly hobo, a caretaker spirit who he became obsessed with the spirit of a 200-year dead trapper spirit he saw in the vicinity of the cemetery's hills, and now glides the length of the wrought iron fence. Reports of men dressed very out of season, let alone century, from the clothes and shoes to the tungsten rings on their fingers. who reply when asked when they're going straight through. Animal noises, sounds of baby crying, footsteps, stones and rocks being thrown by unseen hands, shadows, ghosts, and more have been heard and seen throughout the cemetery. Part of the problem lies in the fact that majority of the spirits hovering around this place are not earthbound souls. Through conjuring and other practices, this once consecrated ground now seems anything but. There are lots of confused souls who have not crossed over properly, the White Lady being one of them, but there is a lot more going on here than ghosts. My opinion is that this cemetery is possible for all of this to be going on, especially with all the evidence found throughout this cemetery. With the mystery of the White Lady, I don't know who she is. Even with all the different stories and possibilities of who she could be, it's possible that none of these stories are actually her. If only the church had a document about everyone who died here and how they died. Not knowing who she was or how she died is a scary mystery. The question is, who was she? She still lingers around. The story about the glowing red eyes is still a mystery too. How did he get set on fire? How did he end up across the street from the cemetery? The cemetery has lots of ghosts, sounds, and other creepy things lingering around. Would you be able to walk alone through the night here? There were many different types of killings here. Aren't you glad you weren't around in the 1700s? My opinion is that since there were many sightings, there are many different types of ghosts around here, with different types of murders, killings, and maybe suicides. Aren't you glad you didn't have to be around? People were brutally killed and murdered here. Would you be able to experience this yourself?